I never expected to find a pregnant CEO in tears at a gas station. Our lives would change forever. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun hung low in the sky, a deep orange bleeding into the evening. I was just stopping for gas, a routine pit stop, when I saw her. She was leaning against the pump, her face buried in her hands, the bright outline of her tailored suit contrasting sharply with the dull concrete. Trembling, I could almost taste the tension in the air. It was just a gas station, but somehow it felt like a stage. There were a few other customers milling around, stealing glances, whispers buzzing like angry bees. Some stared openly, mouths agape, while others pretended to be engrossed in their phones. The silence of the scene was deafening, punctuated only by the rhythmic slosh of gas filling the tank and the occasional distant honk of a car. Who was she? My heart skipped. The glossy corporate world ID, only heard about in hushed conversations, suddenly felt so close. She was a CEO, someone whose name was probably in bold print on magazine covers. But here she was, broken and vulnerable. I could see the soft curve of her belly beneath the fabric, a stark reminder of new life intertwined with her fear. People passed by, their expressions a mix of curiosity and judgment. I clenched my fists, fingers digging into my palms. Hot tears rolled down her cheeks, glistening like shattered glass in the low light. It tore at my heart. I wanted to comfort her, tell her it would be okay, but I felt paralyzed. Suddenly, she looked up, eyes wide and wild, as if she sensed me watching her. Our eyes met, and the world around us faded away. There was something magnetic about her pain, something that pulled me in. I could feel my chest tightening, an ache blooming within me. I wanted to know her story. Then, like a wave crashing to shore, she broke the silence. How did it come to this? Her voice trembled, raw and exposed. It echoed in the stillness, a haunting question that seemed to hang in the air. Just then, a little boy, no more than 5, ran past her, his laughter sharp and jarring against her sorrow. My heart raced. In that moment, I felt the weight of everything, her troubles, ambitions, dreams now hanging by a thread. She was a symbol of power and yet reduced to this state, a solitary figure against the harsh backdrop of life. Before I could take a step forward, the gasp of the onlookers cut through the atmosphere. She was rising slowly, determination flooding her features, yet her hands trembled, a flicker of uncertainty lingering. Then, a dark SUV pulled up beside her. From the driver's seat, a stern-faced man in a sharp suit stepped out, urgency in his strides. "Ma'am, we need to go. Now." His voice was a command, sharp as glass. I felt my stomach drop. The tension crackled in the air, thick enough to slice through. Her gaze shifted between the man and me, and in that split second, I saw something change in her eyes: fear, defiance, maybe even hope. It was a window into another world I knew nothing about, yet somehow was about to be part of. I could see it now, the weight of her choices, the life she held inside, the world that awaited her. An invisible thread pulled at me. What was she losing? What was she fighting for? Suddenly, all eyes were on her, the murmurs rising again. I could feel the pressure building, like a storm about to break, and in that moment, I realized our lives wouldn't just change, they were already transforming. But then, just before my heart could settle, she made a choice. A deep breath. Her shoulders squared, and in that moment of decision, my mind raced. What had she been through? What was she about to face? It all hung in the balance, just like her next move. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The moment hung in the air, frail yet pregnant with possibility. I held my breath, watching as she straightened up, her expression shifting from despair to a fierce resolve that ignited a flicker of admiration within me. But what awaited her on the other side of this decision felt weighty, pulsating with unspoken fears. The man beside her, still ordered and impatient, leaned closer, his eyes narrowing as though he could sense her hesitation. "Ma'am, we need to leave now," he repeated, his voice tinged with urgency. But could she really just walk away from this moment? My heart raced, an instinctive urge to reach out and say something, anything, but words felt inadequate. I was an outsider, a bystander in her turmoil. In an instant, she glanced back at me, and for the first time, it felt like she was searching for reassurance. Her gaze was a storm of emotions: fear and relief, defiance and desperation. I wanted to scream that she wasn't alone, that someone saw her, really saw her. In that fleeting interlude, it was as if we were locked in an unbreakable bond, human and raw, two souls grappling with their own battles. But then she turned away, steeling herself against the man's insistence. "I'm not ready yet," she said, voice wavering but laden with strength. The world around us hushed, and for a moment, even the gas pump seemed to pause, caught up in the tension that had enveloped us like a thick fog. The onlookers resumed their whispers, a wave of judgment rippling through the gathered crowd. But instead of withering under their stares, she stood her ground, a warrior in business attire. Then, with a steady breath, she squeezed her eyes shut briefly, as if channeling some inner reserve of power. "What will you do?" I found myself asking softly, the question escaping my lips before I knew it. It felt preposterous, intrusive even, but desperation fueled my sincerity. Her eyes swung back to mine, and for a heartbeat, I could feel the pulse of her uncertainty mirrored in my own. "I don't know," she admitted, a crack in her armor surfacing. "But I can't go back. I need to fight. For myself and for the baby." The man scoffed, stepping closer, his impatience veering toward anger. "You're being foolish. You're risking everything for a decision made in haste. The board won't wait for you to collect yourself." The truth in his words struck me like a cold wave, dousing the warmth of her resolve. A board decision's consequences. What kind of life had she been battling before arriving here, at this gas station, in a moment of primal vulnerability? I felt a powerful urge to know every detail, to understand the weight of the burden she carried, not just for herself, but for the life she nurtured within. It was maddening. The stakes were impossibly high, yet her spirit shimmered beneath her distress. I wanted to urge her to run, to hide from the world that seemed so eager to judge and condemn. But amidst the chaos, there was a determination in her that I longed to see blossom. "I'll call the board myself," she declared suddenly, pulling out her phone, her fingers trembling as she pressed the screen. The man glared but didn't stop her. As she started to speak, her voice faltered, fear perhaps strangling her words. This is Tara," she said, and the sheer loneliness in her tone reverberated in the silence that enveloped us. "I want run, and I refuse to be what others want me to be. I choose my truth, whatever that might be." And just like that, a small crowd began to gather, drawn in by her fervor. Some wore expressions of curiosity, others seemed sympathetic. Amidst the judgmental gaze, a woman stepped forward, an older lady with kind eyes. She reached for Tara's hand, squeezing it softly. "You are not alone, dear," she murmured, her voice gentle like a breeze. "You have more strength than you know." The room shifted. It was a small act of compassion that breathed hope into an otherwise tense atmosphere. Suddenly, the energy crackled with new life. More people began to nod, murmuring encouragement in quiet tones. A light flickered within me too, anchoring me in this moment of shared humanity. But then, as Tara turned to embrace this unexpected kindness, a sudden, sharp cry echoed through the gas station. Her phone slipped from her grip, shattering against the pavement. My breath caught. The fear and frustration on her face twisted into something raw and painful. Chaos rippled as the crowd silenced, a collective gasp rising. And in those seconds, as the realization of shattered support seeped in, the storm within me grew. What if this kindness wasn't enough? What if the fight she had begun was a losing battle? Anxiety clutched at my chest as time suspended itself in that fragile moment. But in that instant, something deeper emerged, an unexpected hope shimmering in the depths of despair. The old woman wrapped her arm around Tara, and I realized that this thread of connection could be the foundation she needed to reclaim her narrative, to build herself anew. Yet, just as I dared to believe there was a glimmering thread of possibility, Tara's expression darkened. "What if I'm not strong enough?" The vulnerability swept through her, and with it, The uncertainty loomed larger than before. As I looked into her eyes, the cliffhanger of her journey had never felt more tangible. She needed to decide, not just for her baby, but for the woman she wanted to become. And yet, the stakes kept rising, pulling me deeper into their chaotic world, intertwining my fate with hers in ways I could never have predicted. The night air wore a heavy veil of darkness, punctuated only by the flickering neon of the gas station sign, which cast an eerie glow over the scene. Tara stood at the epicenter of a decision that felt monumental, the fragments of her shattered phone glimmering hopelessly in the dim light, like the pieces of her resolve. Around us, murmurs rose and fell, a tide of voices encapsulating the struggle that lay before her. "Tara, listen," the older woman said, her voice steady yet tender, cutting through the rising murmurings of the crowd. "You don't have to do this alone. Please, let us help you." She glanced at the small assembly of people. Two young men nodded encouragingly, and a mother cradling a newborn smiled warmly, as if to say that they understood her plight all too well. But even surrounded by those who sought to offer their support, Tara's eyes glistened with uncertainty. "I thought I could handle everything," she murmured, her voice wavering like a flickering candle. "The board, the pressure, this pregnancy. But maybe I should have conformed. They've been warning me about my choices for so long. Maybe they're right." The words tumbled out like stones falling from a heavy backpack, each one heavier than the last. My heart clenched at her vulnerability, a fable of strength, yet wrapped in the vulnerability that so many women know, the unyielding weight of expectation pressing down on them. She was adrift in a sea of doubt, and I felt the pull of recognition in our shared humanity. And oh, the woman insisted, her grip on Tara's hand tightening. "You know what you want. You are fighting for your truth. No matter what they say, it's your life." Tara's brow furrowed, doubt swimming in her eyes as storm clouds brewed within. This moment was a testament to the fear that clung like a shadow to the bravest of souls, the fear of failing, of being alone. "But what if I'm not enough?" she whispered, and her honesty resonated like a bell tolling in the night. The crowd fell quiet, the weight of her words heavy on our hearts. It was inescapable, the gravity of her struggle against societal expectations, the fragile balance of ambition and motherhood that so many endeavors to negotiate. I felt an urge to leap forward, to grasp her shoulders and declare, "You are enough." Instead, I stood silent, a mere witness tethered to her fight. And then, light pierced through the gloom. A small child broke free from his mother's hold and darted toward Tara, his tiny hands outstretched as though he wanted to wrap them around her insecurities. They met at her feet, and for a moment, all the chaos faded. "Are you sad?" the boy asked, his innocent voice ringing clear and true. "You don't have to be. You're really, really big and brave." The crowd exhaled collectively, surprised laughter bubbling up like champagne. Tara blinked, her eyes wide. And then, in a breathtaking moment, a smile broke free, tentative yet radiant. It was that glimpse of childlike wonder and innate understanding that flickered hope like a comet soaring through the dark skies of despair. The tension seemed to shift, ebbing away just slightly as a collective warmth surged. "Big and brave," Tara repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. I wish I could believe that. The simple words hung heavily, echoing through the gas station as if seeking the support of a broader audience. "We believe in you, Tara," someone called out from the crowd, and the resounding chorus of encouragement rippled forward, filling the air with a newfound energy. Each word, each shout of support was a stone building her foundation, brick by encompassing brick, fortifying her spirit against the onslaught of self-doubt. But then, a shadow swept over her face, a flicker of the storm returning. It dragged her back into the depths, the reminders of impending choices pressing against her consciousness. "What if the board fires me for this?" she asked, fear drenching her hands in trembling uncertainty. "What if I can't keep my job? What if I fail my baby?" The onerous weight of her burden locked my heart in a grip of panic. Weaving through the crowd, I reached out. Again, longing to wrestle this fear like a beast in the dark. "You will find your way," I said softly, though doubt pricked at my voice. "Your strength shines through. But you must let it feel it. This isn't just about them. It's about you. The mother you want to be." Her eyes flickered to mine, an indefinable connection sparking between us, woven together by vulnerability. Yet, even as we shared this moment, a sense of impending danger lurked in the backdrop. The man who had lingered, sharp and dismissive, stood like a ghost, his posture rigid, the tension in his form palpable. Enough of this clamor, he interjected with a snarl. Tara, if you don't come with me now, I can assure you that this ruckus will cost us everything. A hush fell again, broken by the whimper of the child, the stirrings of fear and uncertainty creeping back into Tara's heart once more. Her fortitude waned as doubt crawled back into her mind, infecting the brilliant radiance I had seen moments before. Don't listen to him, erupted the older woman, stepping toward the man as if ready to confront him. This is about her life, not yours. But as the murmurs grew louder, a part of me sensed that it wasn't just Tara's fight anymore. It echoed through everyone present, weaving a narrative of resilience, courage, and the undying spirit of those who dare to defy. The man's determination to squash it all was clearer than ever. And just as I anticipated Tara would reclaim her strength, she teetered again, uncertainty folding back over her like an unwelcome blanket. She glanced between the man, the kind faces of her newfound supporters, and then back to me, a lingering question unsolved in her gaze. As fear twisted like a tempest within the onlookers, she took a breath, teetering at the brink of a choice I could scarcely bear to witness. But then it happened, a moment so unexpected and raw. A siren wailed in the distance, a piercing call for authority, and I knew this could shatter everything again. Tara's face blanched. In that horrifying instant, it struck me like lightning she could lose it all, not just the fight, but herself in the chaos of it all, caught in an emotional whirlpool threatening to pull us under. And as I grasped the depth of her struggle, a profound realization struck, a revelation that felt like the first icy tendrils of winter creeping in, always looming, never far, and yet there was still a spark of hope among us, lingering in the dark. But the moment was fleeting, and with uncertainty still crackling around us, I couldn't help but wonder, would she choose to fight back? Or would this be where the storm finally swept her away? The siren wailed on, an ominous echo that reverberated through the gas station lot, igniting a new wave of anxiety among the gathering crowd. Perhaps it was the embodiment of Tara's fierce and external force that threatened the fragile resolve she had started to weave in between doubt and hope. The man's intensity loomed larger, his face a mask of warning and authority, while Tara's world began to twist again, the edges of her resolve fraying. Tara? The woman's voice broke through like a sunbeam shattering clouds. This is your moment. You must choose. But Tara's gaze drifted, caught between the threat of the man's looming presence and the rising timbre of the siren. It was a dissonant harmony, underscoring her internal struggle, a song of defiance mingled with fear, sharp enough to cut the resolve she had just begun to forge. We can stand with you, I urged, stepping closer, desperately wanting to shield her from the storm. Each face in the crowd bore witness, their collective energy a swirling vortex of encouragement, urging her to rise. Yet, with the siren's arrival, the wild confusion threatened to pull us all apart. Do you really think any of this would matter? The man scoffed, his voice slicing through the air. You think these people will help you if it puts their own interests at stake? You're a liability. The cruel words hung there, an accusation that seemed to rip open old wounds, exposing her vulnerabilities like scars too raw to heal. Shut up. A young man shouted from the back of the crowd, his voice charging through the heaviness, creating a fleeting moment of solidarity. You don't get to decide her worth. But the man stood firm, his eyes narrowing dangerously. You think you're brave? You think you can play at being a hero? Watch as this all crumbles. His voice was a harbinger of doom that wrapped around Tara's heart, squeezing it tight. In that instant, I saw the slow, creeping fear compile into her Isa tempest brewing once more. This was the moment where it could either harden her resolve or drown her in despair. I can't lose everything, she whispered, her words crumpling under the weight of her circumstances. Everything? The older woman stepped closer, her fierce spirit unfaltering. What is everything to you, Tara? Is it these people who do not understand your struggle, or is it the life you're fighting to bring into this world? That is what matters. Don't hide your dreams under their shadows. Tara's breath hitched, her hesitation palpable in the still night air. All around us, Individuals were becoming shadows against the neon glow, representing the scars of their own wishes and dreams that lay in tatters, waiting for her to embody resilience. What if she could break the chains of expectation? What if she truly embraced her truth, stripping it of shame? Her hands trembled, the warmth of her newfound allies reaching toward her with the lingering flicker of kindness amidst the chaos. Yet, they could not quell the tides rising within. But what if I fail? Tara's voice trembled, the cracks in her facade widening, drawing the depths of her fears into the light. Then you keep going, I insisted, stepping forward until the space between us shrank. You find a way to rise, and you allow yourself to learn from every fall. Don't let fear define your life. Define your fear instead. This can be the moment you reclaim your narrative. Our eyes locked, an unspoken understanding blossoming between USA, a silent promise that she wouldn't have to face whatever came next alone. Yet, even in our shared strength, I could feel the earth shifting beneath us, uncertainties bubbling just below the surface like an unseen riptide waiting to drag us down. Then, without warning, another figure emerged from the Shadowsa woman cloaked in a long coat, her face shrouded, like a vengeful specter drawn in from despair's edge. She moved with a calm intensity towards Tara, challenging mere mortals' resolve with each deliberate step. It's your choice, Tara, the newcomer said, her voice echoing like fate itself whispering on the wind. But know this, defeat isn't in the failure of your job or motherhood. It's in allowing others to dictate your worth. The tension in the air danced, each heartbeat an eternity, and Tara shifted, a chasm of doubt visible in her gaze. Who are you? She breathed, fear and curiosity warring within. This, the mysterious woman gestured around at the crowd, steadfast in her conviction, isn't about them. This is your moment. Claim it. The next chapter of your life is being written now, with every word that fell from her lips. A flavor of rebellion started to taste sweet against the bitter tang of fear. Yet, doubt remained a potent shadow, waiting for its chance to reclaim its throne. But before Tara could respond, a blaring horn cut through the air, the siren rising in pitch as a police car screeched to a halt just outside the gas station. The headlights flickered across the gathering, illuminating the faces etched with hope and fear in equal measure. Tara's wild eyes darted between the officer stepping out of the vehicle and the man who had cornered her. Reality crashed in waves against her fragile heart, an impending wave breaking with the force that would either clear her path or drown her dreams. With her answer still on the tip of her tongue, the officer approached us, his expression serious yet gentle. What's going on here? He asked, surveying the scene with both caution and curiosity. And as the crowd held its breath, forming a protective barrier between this moment and impending chaos, I felt the ground shift with that chilling realization. This wasn't the resolution we craved. It could just as easily become yet another hurdle in Tara's tumultuous journey. The wind picked up, swirling around us, and I could almost hear the heartbeats picking up in rhythm, anticipation crackling like dry leaves beneath footsteps. Would she be ushered into fight or flight, reclaiming her right to sovereign courage or succumbing to the storm that threatened to upend everything she had worked for? But as she stood cradled in uncertainty, her decision hovered above her like a delicate bird caught in the winds of fate, trembling with the weight of what it meant to truly stand for herself. As the crowd breathed collectively, the air thick with tension, Tara's heart skipped in time with a rallying storm of emotions, fear swirling into doubt, hope flickering like the dying flame of a long-forgotten candle. The officer's gaze remained steady as he took in the scene, a palpable pulse of authority radiating from him, yet beneath it, a glimmering kindness lay ready to embrace. Tara, I whispered, urging her to find that spark she had just begun to ignite within herself. Yet, all around us, the shadows of uncertainty whispered too loudly, clinging to her hesitation as if trying to pull her back into an abyss of inadequacy. The officer moved closer, kind yet urgent. I need you to tell me what's going on, he said, his eyes never leaving hers. She was winded, lost in the depths of self-doubt, while the weight of every gaze constructed an inner crucible of pressure. As she began, her voice uneven, the syllables stumbling forth like fragile, hesitant steps toward a precipice. I don't know if I can then speak your truth, he encouraged, his steady presence acting as an anchor in the tumult. Whatever it is, you're safe here. That single word, safe, sliced through the fog of Tara's uncertainty. The crowd surged with intention, a quiet strength threading through us as we leaned forward, willing her to seize this moment for herself. I sensed a flicker of what lay beyond the faceless outlines of doubt, a realm of possibility bringing a newfound warmth to her chilled heart. In that moment, a child's laugh chimed somewhere from within the crowd, bright and innocent, a stark reminder of joy amidst the confusion and fear. With each giggle, the tension wound tighter, but within it sparked a sense of solidarity that held more power than any harsh words. Every face, young and old, seemed to carry hope, lifting Tara's shadowed spirit to a shimmering edge of potential. "I can't let them down," she finally said, her voice emerging stronger, a fragile yet resilient thread binding together despair and determination. "No one's asking you to be perfect, Tara," I interjected, the urgency pulsing in my chest. "Just show them who you are. This is more than a statement. It's your life. You deserve to fight for what you want." Yet, even as the words tumbled out of my mouth, I felt a swell of fear, a gnawing echo of the man's cruel voice ringing in my ears. What if she failed? What if embracing this moment only dug her deeper into despair and chaos? What if the siren's wail was not the prelude to triumph, but a mournful song announcing her undoing? Tara took a deep breath, gathering the whispering remnants of courage and vulnerability, her hands tightening into fists. Just as she began to stand taller, something surged behind the shadows. The man who had challenged her stepped forward, his brow furrowing with something more than mere disdain. "You're going to want to think this through, Tara," he warned, a malicious grin slithering across his face. "You really don't understand the mess you're in, do you? What do you know about me?" She shot back, steel threading through her voice. A surprise glimmer sparked in the depths of her eyes, igniting the kindling of defiance. "That I know everything." He spoke softly yet ominously. "The stakes are higher than you realize. Your choices affect more than just you. They will send ripples through everything you care about." The crowd fell silent, disbelief mingling with dread. Panic seized me as I watched Tara's resolve flicker, threatened by the dark specter of despair that loomed just beyond her outstretched grasp. "What do you mean?" she breathed, the question hanging in the night like a suspended breath, filled with both vulnerability and haunted horror. But before he could answer, the haunting wail of the siren grew louder, the police officer's attention diverted as he reached for his radio. "Now, I really need to know what's happening in this crowd." Everyone remained calm. Every heartbeat ricocheted against the silence that followed, but the man's gaze bore down on Tara like a weighty promise. "Just be careful what you wish for." I saw the focus in Tara's eyes break again, hesitation carving fresh lines of fear upon her brow. This was more than just a choice about her career or motherhood. This was a fight against tides intended to pull her back from every dream she wished to realize. The officer began leading the man away, but not without locking eyes with Tara. "You don't have to face this alone. We will ensure your safety." His words held the promise of kindness. Yet still, the darkness clung to her, pregnant with uncertainty. In that moment, Tara's heart felt like it was suspended between two worlds, the threshold of the courageous rise and the drift into despair. Just as she began to step forward once more, something inside me pulled tight, as if a great secret hung just beyond that fragile horizon, waiting to crash over us and tear apart everything we thought we knew. And there, amidst the radiating light of lonely dreams, a single revelation pushed its way forth, gnashing against the ache of fear. I realized this battle for Tara wasn't just her own. It was a war knocking on every door, threatening to spill the truth that none of us were entirely ready to face. The sirens howled and the shadows gathered, but under that quiet sky, one thought surged, a question that would imprint itself on our hearts forever. What exactly was at stake in the fight for Tara's dreams? And who among us might pay the ultimate price for allowing her light to shine? As the echoes of uncertainty hummed in the air, the crowd began to shift, a current of anxiety rippling through every person gathered. Tara stood frozen, a statue carved from the very tension that filled the space around her. She felt the weight of the man's words pressing against her, the sting of his foreboding almost palpable as it wrapped around her chest, constricting her breath. The future she had once envisioned began to crumble like fragile glass, shattering under the glare of harsh reality. "Listen to me," I urged, my own pulse racing with desperation. "You're stronger than this. You've always been. You made it this far. Don't let him rob you of your moment." I could see the flicker of a fight in her eyes, yet it dimmed further with each beat of the ominous silence. Suddenly, an elderly woman stepped forward from the crowd, her face lined with wisdom and kindness. She held out an apple, a small gift that felt almost sacred amidst the chaos. "Here, dear," she said softly. "Take a moment. Remember the sweetness in life, even when everything feels overwhelming." Tara blinked at the apple as if it were a lifeline tossed from a sinking ship. She hesitated, but then took it with a trembling hand, its glossy skin gleaming red beneath the streetlights. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely rising above the din. The old woman nodded, a gentle smile crossing her lips. "We're all rooting for you, child. Don't let fear keep you silent." And with that, she withdrew back into the crowd, leaving a soft warmth in Tara's chest. Yet, the moment of solace was fleeting, punctuated by another pulse of noise. A man in a patched jacket moved through the gathering, his beard wild and unkempt, but his eyes were sharp and piercing. "You think this is just about you?" he called out, voice echoing around us like a thunderclap. "Don't you see? We're all in this together. But your decisions could doom us all." The hairs on the back of my neck rose, dread intertwining with anger as Tara flinched at his words. He walked closer, a shroud of uncertainty swirling in his wake. "What are you going to do when it all comes crashing down?" His sneer curled like smoke, wrapping itself like a noose around her confidence. But Tara straightened, defiantly aligning her shoulders. "I'm going to stand up. I'm going to," she started, but the uncertainty crept back into her voice. "Let them take your dreams?" The man continued, not allowing her to finish. "Let them tear you apart?" "Enough." The officer's voice cut through the turmoil, forcing a hushed pause. "This is not a time for intimidation. We need to hear Tara's voice." And in that brief silence, Tara leaned on the moment like a bridge between fear and resolve. The crowd watched, breaths held in an almost sacred anticipation. "I'm not afraid," she finally declared, her resolve blossoming like a flower breaking through the concrete. "I choose to fight for my dreams." A flicker of defiance emerged in her eyes like sparks catching fire against the night. The man's brows knit together, confusion clouding his face, but Tara held his gaze, refusing to let him penetrate the armor of her newfound courage. However, the chatter of the crowd was undercurrents of doubt, mixed with whispers that began to reverberate through the overwhelming tension. Could she really do this? "Then answer the stakes," he retorted, stepping forward. "How many more people will suffer if you choose wrong?" "I'm not just talking about you." Every heartbeat thrummed in Tara's ears, fear battling with the embers of hope. It was true. The possibility of failure itched at her veins, a stark reminder of everything that lay on the precipice of decision. As she opened her mouth, the words clawing to be freed, a chilling gust swept through the gathered crowd, and she felt exposed, like a raw nerve in a world of complications. An unexpected voice broke through the chaos. "You won't fail us, Tara. We believe in you." It was a young girl, no more than 10, standing on the periphery, her face shining with conviction. This small act of faith shimmered amidst the overwhelming currents of doubt. The crowd turned, their attention to Tara, the energy shifting like a tide, drawing her in rather than pushing her out. She caught a glimpse of flickering flames of hope igniting around her, bolstering her courage, the vision of possibility weaving together what once felt frayed. But just as Tara opened her mouth to respond, her phone buzzed, an urgent message lighting up her screen. It was from an unknown number, short and direct, yet filled with a foreboding dread that settled like a stone in her stomach. "Time is running out. They know about you and the baby." Her breath caught, and in that moment, the world around her faded. The ripple effect of her choices came to a head, bringing into sharp focus the price of pursuing her dreams. Anxiety wrestled violently with the resolve she had just kindled, igniting a tempest within her heart. "Tara?" I whispered, feeling the sudden shift in her demeanor as she cradled her phone like a fragile relic. The weight of her decision hung heavily in the air, as if the world held its collective breath, waiting for the storm she alone could not comprehend. The laughter of the child had long since faded, and the kindness of strangers felt distanced, overshadowed by the chilling reality of her words and the implications of the text. Panic set in as a realization swept over us, revealing that the fight wasn't just hers, but a profound web that ensnared us all. And in that moment, a new dawn broke on Tara's horizon. The question burned in the shadows around her. What had she truly sacrificed by choosing to fight? What would be the real cost of her dreams? As the crowd drifted into a concerned murmur, Tara stood poised on the precipice of uncertainty, her heartbeat dragging us all toward a relentless cliff. What lay ahead was carpeted with promises yet to be fulfilled and threats not yet unveiled. Underneath the chorus of unraveling fear, an unyielding truth emerged. Everything was about to change. Tara's hands trembled as she stared at the screen, the words blurring into a frenzied dance of dread and disbelief. The murmurs of the crowd wove into a tapestry of noise around her, but all she could focus on was the message running like a cold river through her gut. They know about you and the baby. The weight of that statement sank deeper than anything she had ever felt. Did I have to go? She murmured, almost to herself. Instinctively, she turned to move, her body acting on impulse while her mind grappled with the chaotic thoughts swirling within. Wait, where are you going? I called out, the desperation in my voice matching the frantic thumping of my heart. That I can't stay here. Not now. The fear lacing her words grounded them in a stark reality that shattered my heart. She was unraveling, and the confidence she had just clutched tightly was slipping through her fingers like sand. Her eyes darted through the crowd, the faces blurred into a sea of concern and confusion. Stepping closer as a protective instinct surged through me, I gently grabbed her arm, hoping to anchor her amidst the chaos that threatened to swallow her whole. Tara, please don't go alone. Let me help you. She met my gaze, her emerald eyes shimmering with unshed tears, the light inside them flickering like a dying candle. If they know about my baby, everything is at stake. I can't. Her voice cracked, the steel she had drawn from within her beginning to corrode under the weight of reality. But running won't change that, I urged softly. Let's find out who they are. We can face this together. You're not alone anymore. But the walls were closing in on her, and she felt them more acutely than she ever had before. I can't put you in danger. I want. Her voice rose, a mix of fear and fierce love, as if it could shield both her and her unborn child. The risk is already here, Tara. We need to confront it. What if we plan? What if we find a way to fight back? The words poured out in a hurried rush, fueled by the urgency of her distress. A plan formed in my mind, fragmented but alive with possibility. Tara stood still, the shadows of doubt veiling her face. I could see her wrestling against her instincts, and in that moment, a flicker of hope ignited within her fragile flame, but one brimming with potential. You really think we can? The crowd observed, caught in a delicate web of concern and hope suspended in the air between us. Tara's fears had become their fears, shared burdens woven into the foundation of the moment. If anyone can face this, it's you, I said, my voice resolute. Let's take it one step at a time. You've already shown us how strong you are. This is just another fight for you and the baby. Breath by breath, she appeared to ground herself, but the storm within her was far from calmed. What if it's too late? What if I already made the wrong choices? Don't let them make you doubt your worth. Your decisions have power. They've brought you here, surrounded by people who believe in you. What could be more powerful than that? At that moment, an unexpected gesture unfurled from the crowd. A mother holding her small child stepped forward, her face illuminated not by worry but hope. Tara, we'll stand with you. I'll help in any way I can. You're not alone. The mother placed a hand on Tara's shoulder, a small dreamer's heart tucked beneath her arm, the reverberation of her gesture radiating warmth throughout the fragile atmosphere. I could see it in her eyes that this moment had touched the deeper chords of a shared struggle, the notion that together they could redefine their realities. But the silence that followed was interrupted by a shrill cry from the back, a siren cutting through the heaviness of the night. Moments later, we could see the flashing lights dancing in the distance, bathing the scene in an ominous blue stark reminder that safety was a fragile promise. almost laughable against the towering shadows of uncertainty. Panic flickered in Tara's eyes, amplifying the tension. It chased joy away as swiftly as it had emerged. The time's running out, I said breathlessly, pulling her closer, my heart racing in tandem with hers. We need to make a decision now. Do we face them, or do we run? Tara's eyes darted between the source of the sound, her apprehension ringing louder than all the voices surrounding us. But something remained steady, a determination lodged deep within her soul. We run, she whispered, her voice resolute but trembling. But we plot the course while we do. Just as we turned to escape, her phone vibrated violently against her palm. A second message from that unknown number, this time sending a fresh wave of ice through her veins. Be careful out there. They know you're planning something. The fear that churned beneath our skin coalesced into a singular thought: whatever lay ahead. We were not only running for our lives, but for the very future that hung in the balance. For the baby. And herein rested the depth of her resolve. Every step felt both like a retreat and a preparation for the fight yet to come. As the sirens grew closer, Tara's heart raced in tandem with my own, and just as we began to slip into the shadows, I whispered, I'm right here, nothing will tear us apart. But even as the words rolled off my tongue, the world around us shifted, an unseen tide altering our reality forever. Another revelation was lurking in the shadows, one we hadn't anticipated: the realization that we were not just running from threats. We were also racing toward the unknown truths that would alter our destiny forever. The gas station was dimly lit, the flickering fluorescent lights casting ghostly shadows on the cracked linoleum floor. The smell of stale coffee and burnt rubber hung in the air, mixing with the cold night outside that pressed against the glass doors like a restless spirit. Tara leaned against the cool surface of the counter, her breath shallow and rapid, as if she had just run a marathon. I remained by her side, acutely aware of the vulnerability swirling around us. Like the storm clouds gathering in the night sky, we need to find a place to lay low, I murmured, glancing nervously outside. The chaos we had left behind felt almost unreal, a nightmare woven with threads of anxiety and fear. But even in the midst of it, I could sense Tara's strength, a flicker of fire still alive within her, defying the darkness that threatened to engulf us. Why here? She finally asked, her voice steadying like the calm before a tempest. Of all places, why a gas station? It's secluded, far from prying eyes, I replied, keeping my words measured as I searched her gaze. No one would think to look for us here. Tara nodded, but sorrow still curled around her eyes, as if each breath carried the weight of memories long past. Here she was, an expectant mother on the run, caught between futures, wrestling with decisions that felt like a cruel joke. I shouldn't have to run, she whispered, her voice breaking as the emotion fractured the moment. Why should I hide from what I am, from who I am? The truth echoed loudly between us, reverberating against the hum of the refrigeration units behind the counter. She was a woman of power, of ambition, yet life had boxed her into a corner that felt impossibly confining. You shouldn't, I said softly, my heart aching for her. But maybe running now allows you to reclaim that power later. In the midst of our despair, we spotted a flicker of kindness that caught us off guard. A woman in her 50s who had been quietly waiting near the coffee machine approached with a look of genuine concern. Are you two okay? She asked, her voice gentle and unassuming. There was warmth in her presence, a softness that seemed too rare in the face of the world we'd known lately. Tara hesitated, looking at me for guidance. We're just taking a break, she finally replied, but the uncertainty dripped like honey from her lips. The woman nodded, as though she understood more than she let on. You're not alone, you know. No matter how isolated it feels right now, there are people who care. She offered Tara a cup of coffee, a gesture so simple, yet filled with meaning. Here, it's on me. You look like you could use it. Tara's eyes widened briefly, the weight in her heart momentarily lifted with the gesture. Thank you, she murmured, accepting the cup, and in that moment, hope felt less like a distant dream and more tangible, like the warm cup between her hands. As she took a sip, I felt an urge to protect this flicker of warmth. We need to leave soon, I cautioned, heart heavy with the knowledge that the peace we felt was fleeting. But Tara shook her head softly. Just a moment. Let's breathe. Outside, chaos might be beckoning, But in this pocket of time, we were suspended in a cocoon of small comforts and unexpected kindness. Tara's expression settled into a softer resolve as she took another sip, the warmth spreading through her like a beacon, reminding her just how many people believed in her, including this stranger from the shadows. But that serenity shattered as the sharp note of Tara's phone sliced through the air once again, that dreadful unknown number lighting up the screen. She cursed under her breath, and I could see the tension returning, wrapping around her like a vice. "What now?" "Let's see," she replied. "It's probably just more threats that my anxiety clawed at me." But I nodded, urging her to read. With hesitant fingers, she unlocked the phone, and her face blanched as she read the new message. "They're onto us. They know where we are." The air grew colder, a chill settling between us as fear seeped back into the warmth we had so recently clung to. Tara looked up, her face pale, yet something flickered behind her eyes. "Fight. There must be a way. We can't let them take this from us." "I won't let them," she declared, her voice steady but trembling with defiance. The woman who had offered her kindness took a step back, sensing the shift. "You need to go," she advised, but there was a strange glint of understanding in her eyes, as if she had seen battles fought behind closed doors. Quickly as we started to move toward the door, Tara's phone buzzed once more, this time filling the unsettling silence with a new message that made both our hearts drop. "You're running out of time. We'll find you." And with that, the moment fractured again, darkness encroaching faster than we could outrun it. We exchanged one last frantic glance before darting outside, uncertainty still a heavy cloak around us, but the glimmer of hope that she held inside flickering defiantly against the terror as we stepped into the night. A resounding thought became clear: none of this was finished yet. The real fight was just beginning. The cold air hit us like a wave, leaving no doubt that we were indeed racing towards something far greater, lurking in the shadows, something that would change everything. The chill of the night clung to our skin as we stepped outside, the fluorescent glow of the gas station fading quickly behind us. Tara's breath came in rapid puffs, a thin veil of fog lingering in the air as her resolve danced precariously between fear and determination. The distant echoes of the city felt like a ghostly reminder of the life we had momentarily left behind as we stumbled into the shadows, hearts racing as the cool breeze prickled against our exposed skin. Each step away from the seemingly safe haven amplified the cacophony of our thoughts. I reached for Tara's hand, hoping to lend her my strength, the warmth of our contact grounding us both for just a moment. "They'll find us," Tara murmured, her voice barely above a whisper, haunted by the gravity of the threats. "What if they come after the baby?" We paused beneath the flickering light of a street lamp, its weary glow flashing like warning signals. The fear in her eyes twisted my gut, turning warmth into ice. "We can't let that happen," I said, forcing my voice to sound steadier than I felt. "We need to keep moving." She nodded, gathering the strength to shift her focus from the darkness creeping in on us to the path ahead. "You're right." Yet I could see the storm of doubt swirling behind her determined gaze. "We can't stay in one place for too long. They'll follow the trail of our panic." Just as we began to walk again, a figure loomed in the distance. My heart raced, a deep instinct of danger flaring to life. But as the person approached, recognition sparked. An officer. His uniform, though somewhat disordered, brought a sliver of hope. "Perhaps he could help us?" "Excuse me," I called out, my voice steadying amid the quickening chaos. "We need help." His eyes narrowed, assessing the two of us with a mix of suspicion and concern. "What's going on?" "You look distressed." Tara flinched at the word distressed. I could feel her anxiety rolling off her like waves crashing onto shore. We were in trouble," I stammered. "Someone's looking for us, and we need to get away from here." The officer hesitated, his consideration weighing heavily in the air. "You need to be careful. I can't promise anything in this neighborhood. We already have reports of suspicious activity." "Please," Tara interjected, her voice shaking but fierce. "We're pregnant and in danger. We need somewhere safe to go. We can't go back. We can't." Her voice caught, tears brimming in her eyes, the fight in her heart sparking a raw vulnerability that drew the officer closer. "Listen, I can't provide safe harbor, but I might know someone who can." A gasp caught in my throat, the flicker of hope teasing the edges of darkness. "Who?" I ventured. He glanced behind him as if checking for unseen threats. A friend of mine owns a small cafe just outside the city limits. It's usually quiet, and he doesn't mind lending a hand when necessary. He took a deep breath, eyes widening slightly. But you need to trust me. If they're really after you, you can't use any phones, or they will track you. Tara's teeth sank into her bottom lip, uncertainty dancing behind her eyes. But there was a flicker of relief, too. We can do that, she replied quietly, her voice growing stronger. We don't have any other choice. As the officer began to give directions, the tension in the air thinned momentarily, the stillness wrapping around us like a warm embrace. It felt like a small blessing in the midst of uncertainty. But just when we thought the worst was behind us, Tara's phone buzzed again, and this time, her face paled in horror. What is it? I asked, heart racing anew. This isn't just threats anymore. She held the screen up for me to read the words burned into my mind. We're coming for you. There's nowhere left to hide. The clock is ticking. Before I could respond, an explosion of sirens began to wail in the distance, echoing in the stillness of the night, twisting the air into tension. The officer's posture shifted, his hand instinctively moving toward his radio, panic flaring in his eyes. I need to go. You need to move now. Our choices narrowed, with the weight of time pressing heavily on us. Thoughts scrambled in a frantic avalanche, pooling into a singular, urgent question. Would we outrun the shadows hunting us down? The officer gestured urgently for us to follow him down a side alley, urgency igniting the air. Tara squeezed my hand tighter, grounding me amidst the storm surrounding us. Yet, as we turned into the darkness, another startling realization dawned. Our escape towards safety might mean walking towards something darker than we ever anticipated. The rush began as we blended into the depths of night, but the feeling of being pursued didn't fade. It deepened, and the specter of danger loomed over us, closer than before. All I could think was whether we'd finally find that elusive harbor from the chaos, or if the shadows had only just begun to close in. The sky above was a heavy quilt of stars shimmering through the moonlight, each twinkling point offering a glimmer of hope, yet the gravity of fear wrapped tightly around us as we sprinted into the alley. Tara's breath came in short pants beside me, every footfall echoing the rhythm of our escalating heartbeats. We had become shadows ourselves, slipping through the night as whispers of anxiety chased us down the darkened path. The officer led us behind a row of dumpsters, their metallic scent suffocating but nevertheless grounding. As he peered down the alley, I could see the resolve in his eyes, a fierce determination to protect us even though the danger crackled like static in the air around us. Just stay low until I give you the signal, he murmured before disappearing into the shadows. His footsteps swift and confident, I turned to look at Tara, feeling the weight of everything she bore rest heavily between us. In the depths of that moment, fear was palpable like the wind shivering against our skin, but even so, there was something powerful anchoring us. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears, yet they burned with an intensity one hadn't seen before. A resolve, a fierce determination to protect not just herself, but also the life growing within. Well, make it through this, I said, trying to weave a thread of reassurance into the chasm of uncertainty that loomed over us. You're stronger than you realize. But she shook her head, the movement almost imperceptible. I didn't want to be here, hoping to hide. I wanted to stand tall and face the world. I wanted to fight. Her voice trembled, yet the flicker of defiance still shone brightly. But that fight, it feels impossible now. No, I said firmly, gripping her shoulders, forcing her to meet my gaze. You've come this far. You've fought through everything thrown your way. The darkness may feel suffocating now, but together, we'll find the light again. Our moment lingered, pooled in the space between fear and hope, a heartbeat echoing our resolve as we leaned closer. It took a mere flicker of a second before a loud commotion shattered our fragile silence. I turned sharply to the alley's entrance, where the officer's silhouette surged into view, his panicked expression screaming without words. Run. The flood of adrenaline surged through my veins, and instinctively, I grabbed Tara's hand as we sprinted down the alley. We dashed past flickering street lamps and weaving shadows, limbs seeming to move as though pulled by an unseen force. Behind us, shouts echoed, an angry chorus of authority crashing through the night. Our instincts screamed to escape, yet urgency forced clarity within Tara's mind. Where do we go? She gasped, her voice barely a whisper, as the sounds of pursuit closed in. Toward the cafe, I urged, breathless as I glanced back. We've got to keep moving. We can find refuge there. But doubt clawed at her heart, the fear of what might await us driving a wedge into her resolve. What if it's a trap? What if they're waiting? The uncertainty flickered across her features, threatening to drown out the resolve we had built together. That I locked my eyes with hers, willing her to see the strength I believed we had, the strength I believed she had. We've already taken a leap into the unknown. We can't stop now. We have to trust in the light we believed in moments ago. It's our only way forward. With a final nod, Tara squeezed my hand tighter than ever, anchoring herself into the courage that welled up around us. We darted through the night. Each corner we turned, stretching our hopes as widely as the sky above, the fear and adrenaline guiding our footsteps. The cafe came into view, a small sanctuary surrounded by darkened shadows, yet inviting in its warmth. As we approached, I saw confusion etched into the officer's face, a stark reflection of my own fear. But we had come too far to turn back now. Aren't you supposed to be protecting us? I called out, almost pleading as we reached the door. That I am trying. He shot back, scanning the street as if it held the answers we sought. Get inside. Pushing past the threshold, Tara and I stumbled into the welcoming arms of the cafe. The warmth enveloped us, a stark contrast to the chill of the night at home amidst the chaos. The officer rushed in after us, locking the door behind him. Panting as we leaned against the wooden counter, hearts pounding wildly. Is this place really safe? Tara asked breathlessly, scanning the dimly lit interior of the cafe where the walls were adorned with quaint paintings and the faint aroma of brewed coffee swirled in the air. That I hope so, he replied, anxiety laced in his voice. But we need to be vigilant. They won't stop until they get what they want. Tara turned her eyes to me, sparkling with fears yet saturated with a fierce glimmer, and I saw a flicker of belief igniting once more. We will keep fighting, Tara declared, her voice unwavering, conquering the fears that had clawed at her heart. None of this will take away the person I want to become. With the way of raw emotion and vulnerability decorating her words like ribbons, my heart surged in response, a powerful need to protect her, to believe in the strength that shimmered beneath the surface. Just then, the door rattled, drowning us in immediate silence as our collective heartbeats echoed wildly. But this time, there was a profound transformation. The fear that clung tightly released its grasp just enough to let in the light. Tara grasped my hand tightly, radiating resolve. As the door burst open, we braced ourselves. A figure hovered in the doorway, not the pursuing force we had feared, but a warm figure, shining through the darkness like a beacon of hope. It was the woman from earlier, the one who had extended her kindness at the gas station. That I was worried about you both, she said, her warmth blanketing the air. You don't have to do this alone. You can't. You mustn't face this battle without allies. That a chorus of understanding and acceptance flooded through me, and the gloom that had closed in felt lighter, as if new life were treading softly, coaxing hope back into existence. Tara stepped forward, her voice steady, reflecting the courage she had grasped onto. We need to share our story. We need to rally those who feel just as lost. It's time to craft your own narrative, the woman affirmed, stepping alongside Tara and presenting a sense of unity tangible in the air. Strength isn't born from the absence of fear, but from fighting through it, hand in hand. Inspired, I gazed at the both of them, the fierce fire burning steadily within as the shadows of doubt began to recede. Together, we could rewrite this story, weaving threads of strength and resilience into the fabric of our collective journey. A life filled with more than shadows, a life alive with possibilities. Though the storm still raged outside, inside this small cafe, under the flickering lights, we began to plot our next steps, hopes inflating our weary hearts. Transformation wrapped around us, and just as Tara lifted her chin while we crafted our plan, I felt that once again, we could shift the tides moving forward. As I looked into her determined eyes, the words whispered quietly on my lips, a promise forged in the embers of everything we had witnessed. No matter what, we will emerge from this, stronger than ever. And in that moment, I saw a dawn peeking through the cracks of the night, freedom rising in waves, wrapped impossibly in the ordinary magic we created. The final echoes of chaos would ripple outward. But here, right now, we would find our way into the light, bold and unyielding, keeping every heartbeat alive. The turbulence wasn't over, but I knew one thing. We were finally beginning to navigate toward hope, and that journey would be worth every moment. As Tara turned to face the others, her voice resounding strong and true, I knew our lives had forever changed, no longer just about fear, but about reclaiming the power that illuminated our paths ahead. Together, we took the first roaring steps of countless journeys into the dawn. "We are not alone," Tara said, and the words reverberated through the room. "I promise that neither the storm nor the shadows could extinguish. This is our fight, our truth." As we began to share our stories, the light of courage unfurling into a new reality, I couldn't help but feel that this was only the beginning. And just as the night began to fade, I whispered to no one and everyone, "We're not just surviving. We're finally beginning to live."